This is a Zach Feldman Show replay on ZRadioLive.com.
The website music station Z Radio Live. This is the Zach Feldman Show. Joining me over the phone is a artist. He has a new album out called You Can't Say Anything These Days. It's the Kev. Kev, thanks so much for joining me here on the Zach Feldman Show. How's everything going?
Great. It's good to be back.
Hell yeah, it's great to be talking. The last time we talked was in 2023, so this is how's it been these past 2 years?
It's been productive. I average more than one open mic per week, so I'm always writing new material and testing new material and playing the occasional actual gig.
Oh, that's always good though. That's gotta be fun.
Because it's heartening to get good feedback online, but it's easy to lose sight of the fact that spending all day in front of a screen doesn't always achieve much.
You know, but it helps, though. It helps your creativity because, you know, you've just released a brand new album. Obviously, it's called You Can't Say Anything These Days. Tell us a little about what that album's all about.
Well, so it's my fourth as an English language musical comedian because I got started at writing satirical songs in Chinese. It was a study method that got out of hand. Through process of elimination, I realized musical comedy is the art form for me. So now that it's the fourth album, the first one was called TMI-tastic. TMI is in too much information. I finished that in 2020, and sort of all of the low-hanging fruit is now gone. All of the really obvious subjects to write about.
And you have one of the hits on your album is called the FVSDA. What the hell is the FVSDA?
So it's the musical part of it. I commissioned a violinist and a cellist off Fiverr, the website Fiverr, and also my instructions to the drummer were make it sound like a national anthem. So it needs to sound as solemn as possible and highly orchestral, and it's about feeling blessed to be able to make music, and so and being invited to give a speech to an organization called the FVSDA, because if you've learned anything from LinkedIn, it's that you have to have an acronym for absolutely everything these days. So I play a character who's giving a heartfelt speech to the FVSDA just to give something back to society. The FVSDA is the Federation for Victims of Sexual and Domestic Abuse.
Oh my God!
Except I mistake them for the other FVSDA, the Filthy Vulgar Sexual Degenerates Association. So I give a speech to them and give them a piece of my mind.
Hell yeah, of course you do, because why not defend your right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've always been creative when it came to creating your music and creating your art. What is driving you all these years?
Just that as an undergraduate, I was taught that good creative writing contains three things: linguistic vitality, formal innovation, and emotional truth. So linguistic vitality, which is just be interesting with your use of language, defy cliche. Formal innovation means try new things with genres or bring genres together in surprising ways. And emotional truth, and that's actually connect with people, evoke emotions from people, whether it's laughter, tears, just make sure your audience feels something. So that's my driving motivation. And now that I've kind of written about all the really obvious subjects, I find I really have to forage for ideas nowadays. Because I'll think of a certain subject that I want to write about, for example, ancestors, and how much of a miracle it is that we're all here because our parents had to meet, their parents had to meet, their parents had to meet, going all the way back to the savannah of Africa. So I wanted to write a song about ancestors. So I filled up in just pages upon pages of notebooks, thinking where could I go with this idea. Yeah. And I eventually that ended up as the song "You're Amazing." Another song. It's a very, very hot topic these days. The crisis of masculinity. Why characters like Andrew Tate are so popular. So I wrote a song about the crisis of masculinity called "What a Piece of Work Is Man."
Well, what's great about you, you're not too political, and you also, when you are political, you kind of give both sides the runaround, which I think is great. We need more people who are more subjective like you, who who kind of fight both, give comedy where it is to both.
Yeah, well, that's why I like South Park so much, because it takes on every issue 360. It makes fun of both sides and usually comes down on the side of common sense.
So you have a lot of songs released on this album. Right now, it's all on YouTube. But where is it going next? Is it going to go on? We're going on Spotify and everywhere else.
Yes, so it's already scheduled to be on Spotify by the end of April. So you'll be able to listen to it on every platform, so Spotify, Apple, Amazon, the major platforms. It's you have to ascend via a distributor to get it onto those sites, but also Bandcamp, which I think is the most artist-friendly platform out there, because
Mm.
um, when a song gets played on Spotify, the artist gets what 0.0 something cents for it. So only established superstars actually really have anything to show for that.
Which is
So
such a scam too. I mean, it's insane. Like we on the radio station here, we're paying royalties all the time. Through our through ASAP, and all different types of musical companies that are for licensing music and whatnot.
absolutely.
But then you have Spotify, which is now becoming one of the biggest streaming platforms in the world, and it's giving you dog shit. What's that about?
The music industry has always been a winner takes all lottery,
Hmm.
and well, it's a sign of maturity to just decide you're going to make music to the best of your ability, and if fame and fortune happens, then good for you. But you can't bank on a thing like that. So, as I said in another interview recently, it's that I have maximum ambition when it comes to creativity and quality, and minimum ambition when it comes to fame and fortune, because the probability is so remote that why even bother thinking about it, making money.
One of the songs, by the way, on your album too is called "We're All Just Sinners," and I think that's a great hit. Tell me a little about where that came from.
It's it's an interesting one, because most of the songs I really had to sit down and brainstorm ideas and agonize about what to write about and where to go with it. But that song just came to me in an instant. I thought that's a brilliant thing to write about,
Uh-huh.
and so I sat down and finished it in one sitting. It's three chords all the way through.
And it worked out. It worked out, and it's a great hit too. Writing 10 songs. I mean, is that crazy for you? As an artist, to finally get those 10 songs out, or was it kind of a struggle to pass through, multiple versions, different songs?
Yeah, it comes and goes. Creativity is sometimes like snow falling off a rooftop. Just for months and months and months, nothing happens, and then suddenly it all just comes. So
And crashes down.
yeah, yeah, I think this was relatively slow one to finish. The first two, especially the second one, was during COVID, so you couldn't go to gyms, cinemas, bars, restaurants. So I seem to have. There was definitely a period during the height of COVID restrictions where I was averaging a song a week from conception to being finished recording it. And but now, I have a full time job. I have an office to go to. I don't think I'll ever get to that level of productivity again. But it's you got asking a creator to set themselves a deadline would be like asking a pregnant woman to hurry up and have the kid. It takes as long as it takes.
I agree completely, and it sucks when you have these deadlines and these marks to hit, especially when you're making music too. Music just kind of, for you, I assume it kind of just flows.
Yeah, and that's why I don't envy people who earn a living from making music, because when something becomes a job, then jobs by their very definition involve deadlines and commutes and meetings and having superiors, and whereas I can just be completely uncompromising when it comes to making music. So I think I prefer the way things are.
That's fair. That's fair. What's the reaction been like? Because you've been performing at some pubs lately. You've been doing maybe like one show a week. You were telling me.
Yeah.
What's been the reaction of kind of playing these new hits?
Well, I'm people wouldn't think it to hear me perform, but I'm a very cautious person, and I'm always very tentative when it comes to rolling out new material.
Hmm.
But sometimes you write something and it's just going to go down brilliantly, and that's what happened with the FVSDA. It happened with "We're All Just Sinners." It happened with most of the songs on this album. including the ones I thought maybe a bit too esoteric that a lot of people won't necessarily get, but they did. Because when it comes to performing comedy, we've all met people who, could just be on the phone ordering a pizza and just be funny, because some people are just naturally funny. Just everything about them. And I've never been like that. I've always had to sit down and carefully write good material and practice it and rehearse it down to the last detail. And that's the approach that works for me.
Christina Perri has a song called 1,000 Years, and now you also have a song called 1,000 Years on your new album. What's the differences? I wanted to ask you that.
It's a continuation of a song from the previous album called Romance Tonight, which, like most of my songs, it starts off really serious and descends into the obscene. And so I just thought it's a popular trope in love songs to talk about being together forever. And imagine being together for 1,000 years. Imagine having to celebrate your 999th wedding anniversary with your great grandchildren.
I mean, that would be incredible. For me, I'm in a nice relationship, but for those who are not in a relationship, a good relationship, they can, they're probably like, oh, fuck,
Whatever meal was being served at your 10th wedding anniversary is probably from animals that are now extinct. So it's and you probably lost some great grandchildren in World War VII, but aside from that, you can still celebrate.
That's always good. Where are you performing next? What's going on next for you?
So I've booked a venue here in Manchester called the Old Monkey, which is a historic comedy venue in Manchester. So that will be at the end of September, and I'm planning to book somewhere big for March next year, but I haven't announced the venue yet, mostly because I haven't booked the venue yet. But that will definitely happen.
But you know what? I think you're going to be a star there. That's what I think.
Well, yeah, there's always the danger of complacency, because you've got to always think of yourself as a novice. Otherwise you become arrogant and things don't go well.
That's fair enough, I guess.
It's like a martial artist. You should always see yourself as a white belt, and then gradually your belt will become so worn that it just gradually becomes black,
and it all comes all stained and shit. All that stuff happens to it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's always good. Maybe keep the belt with you. And I'll just pretend I have a belt.
Yeah.
Does that work out?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you. The Kev. Again, the album's called You Can't Say Anything These Days. For those who want to find you, though, online, where can they go?
So if you just Google The Kev, most of my socials come up. My real name is Kevin McGeary, so all of my stuff comes up if you just Google that. So I'm on Instagram as /TheKev84. So
awesome.
That's probably where I hang out online.
Very cool. Well, Kev, thanks so much for joining me here on the Zach Feldman Show. Again, best of luck with the album. Best of luck with all the music, and definitely come back when you have more music to share.
Thanks, Zach. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. The website music station, Z Radio Live. Back with more Zach Feldman Show right after this.
Want to hear more? Listen to the Zach Feldman Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ZRadioLive.com.